What is up, guys? Del Boy here. I hope you guys are well. I wanted to share my top 10 heavyweight rankings with you guys. Now, as time goes on, these rankings are bound to change, but as of the 13th of January 2019, these are my heavyweight rankings. Now, before we get into anything, I would like to highlight a couple of honourable mentions. The first being Adam Kownacki. Adam Kownacki is a American/Polish heavyweight contender. He is 18-0 with 14 knockouts. His best wins to date are Charles Martin, a former world champion, and Arthur Szpilka. He's an entertaining fighter. He's fun to watch, but to me, he's not really proved just yet he's top 10 level. He does have a fight scheduled on the 26th of January 2019 against Gerald Washington. I think that's a good fight for him at this stage, but as of right now, I think Adam Kownacki just about misses out on the top 10. And the other honourable mention is Dominic Brazil. Now, Dominic Brazil is a former world title challenger. He lost to Anthony Joshua in 2016 for the IBF heavyweight title, but he has picked up a couple of good wins. He's beaten guys like Izu Agono, a highly touted prospect at the time. He's beaten Eric Molina, a former world title challenger. He also beat Amir Mansour before the Joshua fight. Brazil does have a few good wins. He's a tough guy. He can punch. He's an exciting fighter. But to me, he's not done enough to really kind of get into that top 10. But we move on to the actual rankings. Number 10. Now, this could be controversial. I think you could swap this guy for Brazil or Kownacki. But at number 10, I have Bryant Jennings. Now, I think Bryant Jennings is a good fighter. He is fairly well-rounded. He's good on the inside. He can box when he has to. He's got a good jab. He has fought good competition. Yes, he's lost to the likes of Vladimir Klitschko and Luis Ortiz, but he does have a few good wins. He beat an undefeated Arthur Szpilka. He beat an undefeated Mike Perez. He beat Alexander Dimitrenko recently. Also, he beat Andrei Fedosov. They are pretty good wins in my opinion. Bryant Jennings also has a fight scheduled with Oscar Rivas, an undefeated prospect. That's a good fight. You should watch out for that. I believe that takes place on the 18th of January. But Bryant Jennings, for me, just about squeezes into the top 10. He has some good names on his resume, win, lose or draw, and he always comes to fight. So number 10 is Bryant Jennings. Number 9, Darrell Miller. Now, I think Darrell Miller will rate a lot higher on other people's lists, but to me, he's not really proven that he's upper echelon just yet. He has some decent wins against fringe level guys like Johan Duhaupas, guys like Marius Wack, Gerald Washington. These are good fringe level contenders, and he beat these guys in good fashion. And in these fights, I think he proved he's operating at a certain level in the current heavyweight division. But how does he do against the top 5 or top 6 in this division? It remains to be seen. You know, against elite level guys, Darrell Miller is still unproven. But at fringe level, he's proved he's had far too much. So I have him at number 9 in my top 10. I know some people may have him higher, and some people may even have him lower, but to me, number 9 is fair. At number 8, we have the New Zealander, Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker is a former WBO heavyweight champion. He's beaten undefeated guys like Hughie Fury and Andy Ruiz. He also beat Carlos Takam and Alexander Dimitrenko. They are some good names to have on your resume. And obviously he's a former world champion, so he makes my top 10 list at number 8. Now, if you asked me this time last year, he would have rated a lot higher, but back-to-back defeats in 2018 have resulted in him dropping to number 8. At number 7, we have Kubrat Pulev. I think you can kind of swap Joseph Parker and Kubrat Pulev around, depending on how you feel. But I have Pulev as number 7. Pulev has only ever lost one fight in his professional career to date. That was against Vladimir Klitschko back in November 2014. But he does have some good wins against the likes of Hughie Fury, Derek Chisora, Tony Thompson, Alexander Ustinov, Alexander Dimitrenko. For the last sort of 6 or 7 years, Pulev has been a top 10, top 15 heavyweight, and he's still operating at a decent level. So he's still in my top 10. I do think Pulev and Joseph Parker are kind of interchangeable. They could go either way. But I have Pulev as number 7. At number 6, we have Luis King Kong Ortiz. Luis Ortiz is a dangerous Cuban southpaw, a guy with punching power, a guy with quite an extensive amateur background, a guy with boxing ability. There's a lot to like about Luis Ortiz. He's a really good fighter. I think head to head, he gives most guys in the heavyweight division problems. Whether he can beat the top 5, I'm not sure. He's already had one crack against Deontay Wilder and got knocked out. That's not to say he can't come back, but at 40 years old and as a guy who does have some health issues, it does kind of... You ask yourself a question, how long does Luis Ortiz have left? I don't think he has long left, so he needs to, put in some work relatively soon. But, he's a really skilled fighter. He does have some good wins over the likes of Bryant Jennings. That was a really good performance. He also beat Tony Thompson, who was past his best. He beat Malik Scott. He does have a few good wins, but he's done nothing, in my opinion, to prove he's top 5. At number 5, we have Alexander Povetkin. Now, I'm sure some people will have Luis Ortiz above Povetkin, but to me, Povetkin's resume is a lot higher up than Luis Ortiz. Povetkin has beaten guys like Ruslan Shagayev, who for my money is a better win than anybody on Ortiz's resume. Povetkin has beaten Carlos Takam, he's beaten Eddie Chambers, he's beaten Christian Hammer, he's beaten Marius Wack. To me, there's just a lot more meat on Alexander Povetkin's resume in comparison to Luis Ortiz, who I've rated as number 6. Povetkin's resume is a lot better. Povetkin was also a better amateur, so Povetkin has outperformed Ortiz in the amateurs. He's outperformed Ortiz in the pros. Why would I have Ortiz above Povetkin in my rankings? If these two guys fought, I would see it as a 50-50 fight. I think both guys are at similar stages in their careers. I think both guys are equally as dangerous at this point. But Povetkin's resume, his longevity, gives him the edge over Luis Ortiz. At number 4, we have Dillion White. Now, Dillion White has come a long way from his first and only defeat to Anthony Joshua back in December 2015. Since that fight, he's picked up some good wins over the likes of Derek Chisora twice. He's beaten Robert Helenius. He's beaten Joseph Parker, a former world champion. He knocked out Lucas Brown, who was undefeated. Dillion White is coming off some good form and good momentum. And for my money, he has improved in recent years. His stamina is a lot better. I like the way he works the body. Dillion White is an underrated counterpuncher. He's got a great counter left hook. He can kind of set traps now. He can fight on the inside. Dillion White can look raw at times and he does lose his shape at times, but he has improved a lot as a fighter in recent years and he is coming off some really good form. So I have him rated at number 5 in the heavyweight division. Now here we go to the top 3. People's top 3s are going to be very different, but at number 3 for me, I've got Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is the WBC heavyweight champion. I've got to say, I felt he lost to Tyson Fury, and I feel he is very fortunate to still have that title. So that is kind of ruling against him right now. But at the same time, Deontay Wilder has held that WBC heavyweight title for 4 years now. I think he won that title back in January 2015 against Bryant Jennings. and he's knocked out pretty much everybody that's been put in front of him, apart from Tyson Fury. He beat Stiverne for that title. He got a really good win against Luis Ortiz. I actually picked Wilder to win that fight, but I felt Ortiz was a risky challenge. But Deontay Wilder did pass that test, so I give him all the credit in the world for that win. But apart from that Ortiz win, there's not really too much to look at on Deontay Wilder's resume. You've got guys like Arthur Spielker, Eric Molina, Bermane Stiverne. These are like fringe level guys that are okay, but they're not great. And Deontay Wilder doesn't really have those standout names on his resume. Apart from Luis Ortiz, there's not much there. But Wilder, on paper, is still undefeated. Head to head, I think he's a dangerous fight for anybody in the division. On any given night, he can knock out any fighter in the division. So I do rate him highly. I still think he can beat anybody in the division. But his last performance against Tyson Fury wasn't great, and I felt he lost that fight, hence why he's ranked as number 3. If he won that fight, he would be higher. Now ranked at number 2, I have Tyson Fury. I was debating whether to put Tyson Fury as the number 1 heavyweight, because Tyson Fury does have the single best win in the heavyweight division out of any active fighter, so he's got that going for him. He's also coming off a really good performance against Deontay Wilder, but officially he drew that fight. And before that fight, he only fought a couple of low-level tune-up fights. So essentially, his last world-class win on paper was 2015. I appreciate most people felt he beat Deontay Wilder, including myself, but officially on the record it says draw. So combine that with Tyson Fury's inactivity and things of that nature, I have Tyson Fury as number 2. Head to head, I think Tyson Fury has the ability to beat anybody in the division. I rate him extremely highly. So I did debate this one, but I have Tyson Fury as number 2. And at number 1, we have Anthony Joshua. To me, Joshua has just been the most consistent heavyweight of the past 2 to 3 years. He's fought good competition. He beat Vladimir Klitschko. I know people will say he was past his best, which is true, but he was still a very good fighter. He's beaten good guys like Alexander Povetkin. He unified against Joseph Parker. To me, Anthony Joshua just has consistency on his side. He is recognised by a lot of people as the main man in the heavyweight division. So at number 1, I have Anthony Joshua. If Fury officially beat Wilder, I would have Tyson Fury, but officially that fight was a draw. So by the skin of his teeth, I have Anthony Joshua as the number 1 heavyweight in the world as of right now, as of the 13th of January 2019. What do you think of my rankings? Share yours below. Peace.